something very, very dangerous.
Get these spidey sense, I was like, oh, something's off.
And I'm just like, man, I'm waiting to hear something,
Get that crowd warmed up. Is Mr. Jehovah Tiger.
Could anybody hear me? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me, man. I'm testing this new mic out. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. All right, guys. I'm sorry about that. I didn't even have my mic plugged in. That's crazy. Can everybody hear me? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. I should sound a little bit better. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Man. Yep. All right. What's going on, guys? And welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the 1 year anniversary of the podcast. I appreciate everyone that's battled through, Making it work. We're definitely making it work, but let's see here. Who do we got in chat tonight? We got a 1 in the chat. Great. All right. Let's see who's in here tonight. I appreciate it, Red Scares. Congrats on the 1 year. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Many more to come. Yep. We'll see. I appreciate it very much. It's crazy. It's crazy out here. To my lovely other half, happy birthday to the pod. Appreciate her. She helps me out with some design stuff. It ain't just me, y'all. It ain't just me. It's her too. Let's see here. Who else we got? Me B, congratulations. Appreciate you. 1 year of the pod. Hey, I got some stuff for y'all tonight too. Y'all better hang around because we're going to be at it tonight. I got some stuff for y'all. Miss B here. Okay, you can hear me. Osiris Unbox, man. I see you in every live stream that we do, man. Appreciate you showing up, man. Rest Scares, appreciate you. Okay. Well, guys, it's been a while. We gave you the compilation, and there was a story on there. And let me know in the chat if you can hear this because I'm gonna play this real quick. But there was a story that is one of my favorite stories ever told on the podcast, and it's from Mr. Red Scares himself. So I'm gonna play this story for y'all, and let me know in the chat if you can hear it. I want you to tell me your keenest story. Tell me the best story that you have. It could be regarding anything, but I don't want to put you on the spot now. But I know you got one that's in the tuck that maybe that hadn't never been told, or you kind of kept to the side. Okay. But yeah, if you could tell me one of your keen stories, and then we'll get out of here.
All right. So this one, I haven't experienced it, but my cousin. So we were at a fire, doing a fire for somebody, and we talk ghost stories and stuff. Like we're we're creepy. Anyway, so he comes along and he has a lot of stories, and he said he'd submit, but no. So I might have to just go over there and visit him and get them. But this one can creep me out. So anyways, there's a park, the park that where we took the baby to take pictures. So the powwow grounds. Before that was powwow grounds. There used to be, and I don't know if this is just a legend, to scare people. Anyways, so there's this old man, and he had long silver hair, braided. And he'd stand by the water, and he'd wait for somebody to come up in their boat or canoe, and he'd call them in. Are you hungry? You want something to eat? And they would say, okay, like, yeah, so they'd park their canoes or whatever. They'd go up, they'd eat with that man, and he would, I don't know if he put something in their food or if they were just tired from traveling, but he would, wrap them up in rope, tie them up, and he would bring them down to the water, and he would play a song on his drum, and this big silver snake, big serpent, like huge, would come swimming up, and he'd come on shore, and he'd take a human being, and he'd eat it, how they just swallow it.
Man.
And and then it gets worse. So after the snake gets swallows him, the old man takes his knife and he lifts the scale up and he scratches that bad medicine off of him, and then he uses that to hurt community members or whoever. Yeah, and I don't want to tell that one on my podcast because I don't know if it's real, and I don't want to this bad energy. You never know if people know who this person is. But yeah, I don't know if it sounds real or he could have wrote a book or a little movie or something because that scared me.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, there are different kind of stories, and a story that I told on, I think it was on Spirit Talkers with Water Monsters. So we're talking about old kind of medicine stories, and when it comes to these snakes, and big snakes are all over the place.
Yeah.
But they'd sing a song, and I was told, and I'll say it here, but I was told it was it had to do with some type of Four Corner song is what I was told. Now, like I said, I don't know if that's what exact song, but it has to do with something with I don't know. But anyways, and they got that snake to come up, and they do that same thing with that story you just told. They do that same thing, and that's how they that's how they get their healing medicine, and so it's crazy how I even found out about story, and I was told this story when I was like a young kid, but basically there was a guy who was real traditional, and he was messing around at the grounds. And one thing about about grounds that are here in Oklahoma, they're always near water. They're next to a water source.
Yeah.
And again, that might be similar to what you guys had down there too, as well, or up there, I guess you could say. But the gentleman, the young kid at the time, he went down there and he saw that whole thing transpire, and he went the Christian route after that.
Oh man, yeah, I think I would too. Yeah, I'd go somewhere else anyways. Like with ours, yeah, we have good. Like what I was taught was a good way of living. Try not to, I don't know, hurt people. But we have that as well out here, and yeah, there's two sides, right? Like it's like the good wolf, the bad wolf. Which one you're gonna feed?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories right there. It's from Mr. Dono from Red Scares, and that's one thing about the podcast is one thing that's very kind of important to me is highlighting different other native podcasters and people in those types of spaces that have the the platform, but also too is just a little different than me. I I want to say a shout out too. While in that clip I mentioned Spirit Talkers. I want to give a shout out right now to those guys. I ain't been on the podcast in a while. Things just ain't, they just ain't. Sometimes just don't work out like that when it comes to schedules, and I got two little girls that I don't like being away from for too long. But I wanted to say I wanted to say I appreciate those guys. Um, they have meant a lot. I've learned a lot from those guys, and it's Spirit Talkers with Russell, the Pod Father, Sun Eagle, Tyler Double Deuce Randall, and the man himself, Christopher Honka Hill. And I wanted to say I appreciate those guys, and if they hear this, I said it on the compilation, but I wanted to say it here live so everyone can hear it. That I appreciate those guys, and the podcast is still growing strong, and I'm like I said, you never know. I might, the running joke is I'll be showing up like Sting in the rafters. You never know. I might be showing up with the face paint, the long hair, and that jacket. You just never know. You just never know. But that was Dono from Red Scares. Like I said, I appreciate him coming on. I know, like I said, I've been real selective. Real selective on who I have on the podcast, and that's going to change a little bit. We'll see what happens. But tonight, speaking of those snakes, I always talk about that's one of my favorite beings. And growing up around the Illinois River, and growing up, around Lake Eufaula, and being out there, and I haven't really told this story. This is a medicine story. This is never before heard. One time only. No, this is gonna be on replay. I'm just messing with y'all. But I talk about my early years. If you guys have listened to that episode, something that always really makes me think a lot about that is talking about my grandma. And she dealt with a lot growing up, real tough upbringing, and I think about her a lot, especially around this time of year. She passed away on Thanksgiving, and the story that she always told, and she didn't really like telling the story because it dealt with medicine and dealing with the person she dealt with. But a story that I never forget growing up is my grandpa, would tell me this story from time to time about, messing with people that don't really have your best intentions in mind. And, I remember the story, but she was trying to get away out of that situation. And, a lot was going on. Like I said, I wasn't even around. I wasn't even born yet, but, she was leaving. She had had enough. And she was making her way, and she got to a certain point in this bridge, in a certain point of the road, and the car stopped. And, she was real worried, and she opened up the trunk, and there was this big snake wrapped around the engine. That story, I think about that a lot. And it's real prevalent and around that area. Especially, if you, especially in that Illinois River area. She was out at Lake Tenkiller, out close by there, living out there. And her house was real creepy, real spooky. We would stay there. I wouldn't stay there, but we would stay during the day. My grandpa, that's one thing I always think about with him, is he made a point of taking us out there to see her. And, it's crazy as I get older, and I think of these things. And I remember we was real late one night. We was spending, I think it was New Year's out there. I can't remember, but there was fireworks involved, and they bought a lot of fireworks. I mean, God, about burned the dang forest down. Y'all know about that. She about tore it up, man. But you know, she always used to say we was out there. We had a little tight goals, kind of about maybe 5 foot tall. She'd say, "Don't go around that side of the house when it gets dark." She said, you know, you never know what you'll see, but I don't want y'all boys, me and my brother, and at the time we had uh little cousin, and he's a little boy cousin. So I just want y'all, just don't go around there. Don't it, just want y'all to be out in front of the house, make sure we can see y'all. And about start getting about dark, and that she had a husky, and the husky was started crying, started, and she I knew there were some things out there. We went on a little bit of a hike when we went out there. I think it might have been a couple years before she passed, and my grandpa took us out there, and we was walking. She got behind her house. It goes basically, you go down a hill, and it's like a little ravine where it's just hilly out there. If y'all been out there, out there, kind of Cookson Hills area, y'all know what I'm talking about. It's real hilly out there, but there's always something out there. But let me see what's going on in the chat here. I ain't been looking at it in a while. Oh, Miss Berry Hill, I appreciate you showing up. Appreciate you being out here. I know you're always sharing the podcast out, and it's much appreciated. Chaos, what's going on, my brother? Appreciate that. Congratulations. Let's see here. I gotta get you on the podcast, man. We're gonna have to do that. I got a new mic. Audio ain't echoey or nothing. So we'll get it going. JT, what's going on with you? Hope all's good. Osiris, when you gonna hop in there? What you mean, man? Let's see here. Dang, keeping everybody on edge, waiting for that Spirit Talkers appearance. You never know. I might show up. Like I said, be like that spirit that they be all the time on that live. That be messing with them. That might be me. I might be off camera. You never know. Oh dang, yeah, KS, I'll get on your podcast, man. You just let me know. Squatch and Holler, man. Yeah, me and Squatch and Holler gonna link up soon. December 5th. Make sure y'all go subscribe to him. He's got some stuff going on over there. Jared Davis. Hey, so on the last This Is Creepy, I went into a lot of Mr. Jared Davis. I call him the hog meat king of Cherokee Nation. Cook you up some hog meat. Get a hold of him. Find him on Facebook. Do something. Anthony, what's going on, man? Yeah, dang, your mom passed on Thanksgiving too. Man, it's just something about that holiday, man. I don't know what it's about. I don't know what it sounds. Yep. But like I said, guys, what you guys throw out some topics in the chat, but I'm going to talk about something real quick that's kind of been looking into. It's found it kind of interesting. I heard it on another podcast. Drop your topics in the chat. Let me know what you guys want to talk about tonight. We'll keep it rolling as long as y'all want to. So I frequent a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of stuff, and a podcast called The Confessionals with Tony Merkel. He's got a lot of good stuff going on over there, and there was a interesting. I'm a really big World War I, World War II guy. Like, I really enjoy listening to that. I had a grandfather who was in the first one, and Yehola Senior, the OG, and I always found it very interesting about that time period, and what we did to find the atomic bomb, or to make the atomic bomb. And there's a place in Washington. I don't have my tablet in front of me. I'd pull up the different tribes, but I know that the Yakima were out there, and the Nez Perce were out there too, if I'm pronouncing that correct. But they were out there, and at the time that the settlers come out there for the gold rush, and they start making their way out west, they went to battle over a lot of that land out there. And which then started the gold rush and settlements and all these different little areas. We fast forward to World War I, World War II, and we fast forward to World War I, World War II, and we get out to the start making the atomic bomb, because one thing about America, we do not like to be last to the dance. We never do. We beat Britain. We were in the French and Indian War. We did some things, but the Nazis were making some headway. The Russians were making some headway. And so I believe in 1938, if I'm correct, I might be wrong, early 1940s, we decide as a country to put together by the Department of Energy a laboratory in Hanford, Washington. And it's along I think it's the Columbia River. I could be wrong, but it's along the river. And a man named Loren Doc Donaldson is in charge of this. I guess you could say laboratory. And what the purpose of this laboratory is to basically soup up animals. And it's kind of crazy because at the time that this guy was running this place, right before, he had engineered, and if you guys know what the Donaldson trout is, he's the one that souped up that trout. That's why those trout are so big. He did something to their, I don't know if it was like a serum, but he basically gave them the correct nutrients that they need. That he gave them basically by breeding, like the biggest one. They just did some things to make sure that this animal was bigger, faster, stronger, smarter. Well, the United States government go, you know what? I think this guy's onto something. He might be cooking something. He might have something. And we want to harness it. So they put this guy in charge of a laboratory, and he had all types of animals. And I think the public record is that they were just making sure that we see, what happens to cattle when they're exposed to nuclear radiation. And that's one thing that's kind of crazy. And one thing that I find very interesting about this is that there was an interview done with him when he was like old and he was on his deathbed. This is in like 1992. He basically didn't mention to the Department of, like, the director of the Department of Wildlife in the state of Washington was like, hey, by the way, have you seen alligators roaming this Columbian River? And he was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he kind of laughs in this interview. I guess, kind of what this lady was writing is he was amused by this because he said about 10 alligators got loose. He said they figured out a way. They were so smart that they figured out a way. They knew exactly when things were happening, and they escaped. And come to find out that this nuclear reactor needed this water, and so it was right off the river, and the water was so warm from the heat generated from this nuclear plant. And they were like, okay, well, we're going to have to find them. So they hire these military, I guess you'd say, contractors, and essentially they go on a hunting, and they go and try to hunt these alligators. Well, they kill a majority of them, but there were a few left. Well, it started getting cold, and reptiles, they can't survive past a certain amount of temperature. Well, somebody saw an alligator in the wintertime just swimming on the bank, like swimming in the water, and it was just kind of crazy. They never really found kind of what those alligators were. But my real point is in that area. I've read some stories about this, and that's not really the point of what I'm about to tell you guys. There is an animal or a creature or a being in the Yakimas, and like I said, Nez Perce. They had talked about this entity for a long time. The non-natives nowadays call it the ape cat. It's like a Black Panther with an ape face. And a lot of the old native kind of lore is that this thing is so good underwater that it, if you're swimming, it'll pull you. And I know that that same legend is out in South America. They got the same type of like jungle cat type entity, and it takes people. And this water being, you know, has been mentioned that possibly it could be from another dimension. Now, one of the theories with this entity is that it basically travels from dimension to dimension. And takes people and it does all this, and that's how they kind of explain drownings. Well, that's how the natives express that it could be drownings. So it's very interesting. At the time of this laboratory and all this nuclear radiation happening, and you know that they do some modifications to a couple jaguars, and the mutation turns their fur black and their face is weird, and now they're patrolling this waterway. Another theory is that the U.S. government created these things to protect these nuclear plants. They didn't want the Russians to come out of nowhere, come up from the ocean and go up that river and take over that nuclear plant. Now they have all the information, and they created these cats to do that. Well, there's no plant anymore. Now it's a different thing, a whole nother research facility, and they don't do that anymore. Now you just got these cats running around, in this river. And to this day, I think they had a little under 100 type of, I guess you could say, sightings. So it's very interesting. Let's see here. Yep, Hanford and Washington. Yeah, all types of nuclear stuff. Anthony says I'm hearing owls starting to hoot more now that it's getting cooler. Scary time of the year. Yep, you're not lying. Chaos says I have a topic idea, but you aren't gonna like it. Ooh, come on now, Chaos. Don't do me crazy like that. But go ahead, shoot it away. We'll see what happens. Staircases in the National Forest is missing 401. Giant sightings, Grand Canyon, Lovelock Cave, and truck driver stories. Yeah, I know there's a few people out here that are truck drivers. I'm sure they got some stories, but I'm not really well versed in the truck driver story. I think I've heard a few, but I'd have to go in the recesses of my memory. But the staircases in the woods thing is very interesting to me because is it a real thing or is it just old dilapidated buildings? But also too, are they portals? Because I heard a missing 411 story that was kind of wild, but the guy was basically it might have been someone else told the story. I can't remember offhand, but I just heard it anyways. That basically this guy was a firefighter and he disappeared. No one found him, and then they found him later on, like at a hotel in another like hundreds of miles away, basically like forever away, like unnaturally far away. And I'm watching this show. I don't know, like I was told this is a woman show, like a. And really, it's Betsy that told me it is because I guess all the girlies talk about it. But it's called Outlander, and that Outlander show is very interesting to me because there's certain points in history where things happen, and basically this girl goes back into like 17 or 1400 or whatever, and I think that those things are possible all over the place. Like I really believe that there are multiple different portals and different avenues to go to different places and to time travel and do things like that, or go into a different dimension. We did a cave episode, or I did a cave episode, and also told Black Cat stories, Black Panther stories, and we always try to equate. Well, like the human mind is so wild because we always try to make sure that things line up logically, and I do that a lot. Like there's times where I've had supernatural experience. I'm like, it could have been this, it could have been that. And one thing that's very interesting about missing 411, and I haven't really talked at depth about it, but I guess I will now. I don't think it's anything on this world that we understand. I know people say Bigfoot. I've heard different, natives talk about. I know Osages and Choctaws had, not Osages, Choctaws had their beef with Bigfoot, and they went to war with them. Now, different tribes believe different things, but I've heard that they take people, and this certain type of Bigfoot takes people. I'm not going to say the name, but if I said the name, it just makes more sense to me to say that name, but I'm not going to. But just say it takes people. It makes you lose your mind. You guys have heard me say this before. If you listen to the podcast, if this is your first time, hello. Anyways, but one thing that I find very interesting about that whole missing 411 thing is that there is a correlation with, and I've heard people say fairies. I've heard people say, like gnomes or golems or something like that. Like all these different, like I guess fairies. I'm not gonna like I said. I'm trying to be nice, try to be good, not try to say these things names because I gotta sleep tonight. I got little kids that are asleep right now. But the LP, they do those things. I had my aunt. We were at a Father's Day cookout 2 years ago, and she kind of pulls me to the side and is like, I think the LP are like fairies or the fae to what like European non-natives think. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, I think they can mess with time. I think that they can, stop and start time or like stop and basically crunch geographical locations together. And there's a story that I told about how there was a man that was taken to this cave, and it was basically nothing, and like it was just a rock wall. Well, then it opened up, and there was just a bunch of LP hanging out, and that's a famous story. There's been a few encounters that I've heard, or kind of messings with the LP, but I think it is the LP. I know that there was we had a conversation about this at Pawnee Storytelling at the Roundhouse in Pawnee, Oklahoma, and that makes sense to me that it's the Fae or it's RLP. Um, and I find it very interesting that that they do those things, and that's how some people equate. Like I have people that reach out to me from time to time asking me like if they have LP at their house, and you know it's hard to say. Like people say, well, I don't want my kids to go missing, or I don't want my kids to be let off. And my opinion of it is always just like, hey, just leave them alone. Just say, just kind of. And I've had people that say, well, if I offer them a offering, I said, well, if you do that, they're gonna be around more. If they are around, but they're always around. It's one thing that people don't really understand. We've kind of built on top of them, I guess you could say. But I think that's what that missing 411 is. And to non-natives and people that don't understand that and don't understand this land, there are things here that have been here for a long time, even before people came out from under the earth, or they came down from the star people. There's different tribes that believe different things, and that's one thing about missing 411. I think we're missing that part of it, and I think that's one thing I get irritated when I hear non-natives speak. And I know I heard a podcast here recently that they said exactly how I felt about this, and it's people just saying, oh well, natives believe that. Well, the Native Americans said that this, like, one thing that if you use broad terms and you paint it, you think that all natives believe that. There's different tribes that believe, that there were red-headed giants and they had to fight them, and there was other tribes that believed that they had to fight a giant bear, and there's other tribes that believe, that Bigfoot's a predator or evil or out to get you. There's different tribes believe different things, And that's one thing that I believe is missing, is that native voice to say, hey, I understand you believe that and you think natives said this, but you need to say the tribe. Oh well, the Yakima believe that this water panther, you know, was the source of people drowning, or Cherokees believe that Bigfoot are, uh, another tribe. And there's bad ones and there's good ones. Or Creeks believe in the one that shouldn't be named, that moves with the red eyes. So there's different things. There's different tribes, and that's another reason why I have this podcast. Is I'm not saying that I know everything. I don't know everything. I'm just a guy, but I learn. I'm trying to learn as much as I possibly can about everybody, and I'm not saying I'm going to speak on anybody's comings and goings, but when I hear people say, "Oh well, missing 401 has to be Bigfoot, or it has to be a serial killer, or it has to be this," or hey, the natives in this area said that this is called Devil's Bluff. I'm just saying, example or whatever. And that's not always the case, and sometimes it is. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's see here. Dang. Okay. Yeah. Chaos. So yeah, I got there, man. I went there. I went there. Let's see. Miss B. It's curious or losing time when they climb that staircase. That's very interesting because I've been around dilapidated buildings with staircases, and they say that these staircases are perfect, which is very interesting. Are the portals always there, or do they appear in front of unsuspecting travelers? My question to follow that, because I always ask a question answer a question with a question. Maybe those things travel. Who's opening these portals? We don't know who's opening portals and where. We don't know. But I also think too that, like I said, with the way that, like me you guys watching this and looking into a screen, it does calcify some things. It does dull some things down. And I believe that's why we don't see as much when it comes to that metaphysical type of plane. Is that, we don't see what we usually see. Or, some people have that gift to where they're, whatever their third eye or whatever you want to call it, their aura, or they can see or whatever, they can see through that because they were, blessed with that. And, I spoke with somebody here recently about their child and how they could see things. And some people think it's a curse. I know Christians probably, not, I don't want to speak for all Christians, but I'll say organized religion see that as maybe witchcraft or devil's work or things like that. And some people see it as a gift, and I believe it's a gift because, and people always say, "Oh, it's an innocent thing." It hasn't. It's a child's innocence. I also, I disagree because some of those things follow people, and you don't know how to. A lot of people don't know how to handle that and deal with that. But it's very interesting. I also wonder if like those people that can see things see the portals. And they don't know they don't know that it's a portal. Or I also wonder too if people that can see those things unknowingly travel through those portals and go into an alternate timeline. We're getting crazy, y'all. Go into that portal and go into that alternate timeline, and now guess what? They're themselves, but things are not the same. They landed in the same spot and they go back to, a different time, different place, and they're still themselves, but that's very interesting about portals. Miss B says, I heard a story about missing people on the late tram of Eureka Springs. Not sure where I heard that. That was on my podcast. So, yeah, I talked to somebody. So I was in Eureka Springs, and I'm very weird. I like to ask people questions. I like to see people. I like to, ask them, hey, what's going on? Because there's got to be more to this town than just this tourist crap. And the trolley lady said, just don't take the purple route after dark. You'll get left out there, and you may see some things. Because I asked her about feral people out there in the Ozark Mountains, and she goes, that's a real thing. I just would suggest not taking the tram late at night or at the last, because I think it ended at like 9 o'clock or right as it gets dark or something like that. And so we never even took purple. I ain't taking no chances. You're talking to a guy who's seen wrong turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've seen all 55 wrong turns. I've seen all 65 hills have eyes. I'm good. I guarantee you I'm good. I want no parts of that. So we didn't even take it. We didn't even take that tram. But yeah, there are feral people up in the Ozark Mountains, and that was multiple people had told me that when we were in Ozark. Another crazy thing about Eureka Springs, I didn't know this, but it's very witchy. I was talking to somebody, one of the waitresses. We were sitting there having breakfast at that Basin Hotel, and I asked her, I said, what's up with all the witchy New Age stuff? She's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of that here. I said, but there's a lot of like weird conservatism here too. She goes, I know. I said, how long you lived here? She goes, well, I don't live here. I work here. I said, oh, okay. Interesting. And she goes, yeah, on certain nights, if you're out on Main Street, because there's a few bars that are kind of like sporadic, so they're like within walking distance of each other. But if you're ever out, and she's like, you'll see shadows that aren't there or people that aren't there, and it's like they're going to the seance. Like those people are traveling like you are, and it's not people, it's spirits or shadow people. And they have seances there, and there's different kind of secret locales that they do these things, and they do them up in the woods. It's just like kind of interesting history they don't talk about there. They want to talk about the mad scientist who worked on people for like a month or whatever. Yep, the Fae do. Yep, I think that's what LP are. I think that's kind of what my opinion is. Who would you think would win in a fight? And I'm DW or Bigfoot in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. I'm taking Bigfoot because I think Bigfoot can do that same medicine. I think he's got something up his sleeve. Anthony says, I've seen a post that showed that we are the LPs and the Bigfoot are the norm. Could be. Interesting. Some also say, Chaos says, some people say the LPs were here first. That is very interesting. That's. I also, like I said, I think it's just a lot of we don't know, man, and that's one thing that drives me nuts about history. I'll go down a dang rabbit hole on this. Allegedly, I'm gonna say allegedly because it's not in the history books. I'll tell you this, but Alexander the Great of Russia came over to help Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War. We ain't know about that. Ain't nobody knew that. Not the Alexander the Great that's like took over the entire European continent. No, I'm talking about he was a Alexander the Second, so he was on down. Like he was, but he'd come to help Abraham Lincoln because he couldn't allow the other side to win. This is very interesting about history. Just the history I told you guys just now, like that came out in '92, like 40 years after the fact. Like it's just crazy. Let's see here. Miss B says there are so many places yet to explore. Used to be a cave in Mulkey Lake with artifacts before they made the lake. That's one thing that's crazy. That's just so crazy about that because, like Eufaula had all these ceremonial grounds and all these different like houses and people that basically they just poured water over them, like basically just drown them out. No cares. It's crazy to me that's the way that is sometimes. And it's just very odd that we like it's like from the 1850s to like 1950. It's like 100 years. It's like A lot of weird stuff, man. A lot of very, very inhumane things. Squatch and Holler says, we have seen orbs while out at night at one of our bigfooting spots. One lasted over 20 minutes. Makes me wonder about the connection, or is it just something else? That's one thing I think about Sasquatch and Bigfoot or Istachevko or, that big man. You know, I think that there's so much energy radiating around that creature and that being. I believe they're beings. I don't know about the creature thing. I go back and forth, and I had this conversation with Matt Nat from Bigfoot Crossroads. It's like some days I feel like it's an entity, and some days I feel like it's a flesh and blood monster, or other days I feel like, oh, it's a tribe of people. I don't really know, but I think the orbs thing is very interesting because I mentioned in previous episodes, Bigfoot Medicine, would shout out to everybody that listens to that episode. That's like top 3, along with Matt Knapp and Dono's on there on the top 10. And Derek Morse, both of his episodes are in the top 10 of people viewing those episodes. A lot of knowledge coming down of those episodes. Go check them out. But I believe they do. I believe they harness that energy, that medicine. I believe they can do those things. And I think that's one thing that I think non-natives don't understand when I say those things. Is that I was on Bigfoot Society with Byron, and I had to explain it to him. He didn't quite understand when I said medicine or I had to kind of say magic. I think that's kind of lost on people, and that's why I have the podcast and I talk to different people and non-natives, and I go on different shows because people don't really quite understand that. And I'll say something about going on these other shows. I'll read comments from time to time and of other shows, and it be your own people, man. It really be your own people. Like, I had somebody one time, and I can't remember what channel this was, but they said, "You talk like an idiot. You make us Indians sound stupid." And I was like, "It's just slang, bro. I'm born and raised Oklahoma. Like, I don't know. Hi, my name is Yahola Tiger, and I am the host of the Warcry podcast. Like, is that how you want me to sound? Like, I don't understand at all. Like, the community is just kind of, it's odd to me. Like, that's why I'm very selective, and I don't mean to go off on that tangent, but like, it's rather annoying. Like, your name is like John Smith 6754132. Wow, like, bro, come on now. We gotta find a life somewhere. Someone gotta have a life. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not dealing with that group. Let's see here. I got somebody in the back. Let's go ahead and add Mr. Dono.
Hey, how are you?
Dono, what's going on with you, man? How you doing?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. You are live on Warcry Podcast Live.
Yeah, I was just thinking of them portals, and I was trying to type it in the chat, but I think it was on TikTok. So when you go into a room and you're looking for something and you forget what you're going for, they say that you've walked into a portal, and then if you walk backwards out like the door you came in from, you'll remember, and then you'll go and get it. And I've done it a few times. It sounds weird, but it works for me.
Man.
Yeah, I always forget shit, but it might just be, I don't know how people come up with it, but it I don't know. It screwed me up anyways, but I don't know. I do it every time I forget something. So
hey, you remember, don't you? So hey, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right. Yeah, and then the Bigfoot. Yeah, that's I don't know. It's a good topic because, like, yeah, I don't know where it would come from around here. Like, there's a lot of woods, but remember we were talking about the apple trees on your podcast, and then I heard the Matt Knapp one said apple trees. He's heard about that as well. and that they travel around there. Like I don't know. It's I don't know about the Bigfoot. Oh, and the Black Panther thing. We do have a black cat, but it's a lion out here, and
Mm.
yeah. So my cousin was supposed to come on for the Halloween episode. So I'm trying to get in contact with her to come visit, and we're gonna get some stories. And it's pretty cool because my family is also involved in it. So
Oh wow.
yeah. So I don't know too. I know a little bit about it, but I don't want to give that away. And I was going to talk about, I think, LPs as well.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. A story I heard. Sorry, I'll be quick. I don't want to
No,
take
no, go ahead, man. Let it rip.
So this guy, he came from this reserve. It's in Ontario, too. And I think it's about 6 hours away. But he was out here and we're doing like a youth camp down at the powwow grounds again, out here where I'm from. And he told us the story about the LP and that there was a girl from where he come from and she was real small and like she was probably about 4 or 5 and they took her into the woods and she come back. I think it was like 10 or 20 years later and she was fluent in her language. So they taught her all of like their teachings and like her language. Um, yeah, and she came
Man.
back. She, yeah, I don't know how true that is, but I don't know. I like to believe that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like
Yeah.
that story kind of reminds me of if you've heard of Robert Johnson about how he
Yes.
sold a soul to the devil. You heard
Yeah.
that story?
Yeah. My brother, he got me into that one.
Yeah, that's one thing that's kind of interesting. Like, what if he just made a deal with the LP, but it's not like a LP for him. It was like a something different,
Something
you
else.
know?
Yeah. 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 I heard. Yeah, he used to scare me like his music because my brother, he had an iPod on a table like long ago, and I could hear that music, and I didn't know where it was coming from, and it was just like an instrumental, I think. Oh man, I got scared, but I found it. So
It's that old time Mississippi blues, man.
yeah, yeah. But I like his music. It's creepy, but it's pretty cool with the hellhound and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Hmm.
You know, that's one thing that's kind of crazy about a hellhound is I don't know if I'm not sure if I actually exactly believe that. You know, I think it's more, I don't know. It's like the selling your soul thing to me is I think it's kind of old. Like I get kind of tired of hearing about it. Like I hear about celebrities selling their soul, and you know, I heard a story one time that like when this is kind of a celebrity type story, but like they sold their soul and they didn't pay up, and that hellhound came after them. And I can't remember what celebrity that was. Someone in the chat might know, but that's just crazy about especially like the hellhounds, like especially over in England, like they call them devil dogs, I think is what they call them, but basically a hellhound, and they protect, not protect, but they kind of almost like lord over different people that maybe have sold their soul, and they're like in cemeteries and things like that. So yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's cool. There's a lot of like stories that are similar too. Like I like the native, like our kind of stories, right? Because we all have similar ones, so we know they're real,
Hmm.
and we're not crazy.
Now we're
Like
not just wilding out talking about flat Earth. No,
yeah,
just talking
yeah,
about all types of wild stuff. Oh, hey, guess what?
yeah.
The
All right.
Illuminati. No.
Yeah. I'll let you get back to your chat, and I just wanted to pop in and yeah, congratulations on 1 year. So hopefully there'll be many more to come, and I'll have to have you get some stories on mine as well. We'll hook that up.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we will.
All
Hey,
right.
everyone, this is Dono from Red Scares. Go
Maybe.
type in Red Scares. It's first name that pops up. Go give him a like, a follow. I always say this as an example because this story that he told, and it's on his channel. I'm not gonna ruin it, but I want you guys to go check it out. It's called Happy Scares. Go check it out. Dono,
All right.
appreciate you.
All right. See you later.
That's a good guy right there. Dono from Rescuers. Go check him out. Give him a subscribe. Hit him with that subscribe button and hit him with a like. Back to the chat here. Jared Davis, theory for thought. With Bigfoot sightings all around, what if it's medicine being performed as a shapeshift? Just a thought of mine, as we never really know much of the dwellings. Man, that's true. Man, that's interesting. That's very, very interesting. I know that people talk about, Dogman being in their house and seeing that entity or that creature, standing over their bed. And I often wonder if that's what that is, if it's something that can shapeshift into those things. And it's like the story that Josh Turner from PRT, shout out to him. He told the story about the jinn that he had got from somebody, and basically how this jinn was shapeshifting into a dog. If you guys want to hear that story, I can't remember what episode it is. Just type in Josh or PRT, and but if you want to hear the cliff notes, you can. It's episode 1. But yeah, it's very interesting. Let's see here. I think you're onto something with Bigfoot and the orbs. I have to contact someone tomorrow that is having absolutely crazy things going on in this house. Orbs, ghosts, UFOs, and Bigfoot. Yeah, I mean there might be something to it. Just it's energy, manifested by these things. Because I think that's one thing that everyone that kind of doesn't really talk about much is how we can kind of manufacture things and kind of wish things into existence. And I'm going to open up. I'm going to open up the live stream to anybody that wants to come on. Appreciate Dono coming in. I'm going to go ahead and post that now. Well, I'm going to try to post it now. We'll see how it shakes out. But if you want to come in, tell a story, or kind of have a conversation like me and Dono just had, hit that link, and I'll have you in. I'm going to do one at a time. I'm not going to do a bunch of people all at once, but yeah, one at a time. But if you want to come in and just have a conversation or talk about a theory or another topic, you're free to do so. I put the link there. If you've never listened to the podcast or this is your first time, don't be afraid to hop in, tell a story. I'm not mean by any means. I may roast you. Nah, but let's see here. Squatch and holler. Yes, I'm the same way, man. I go back and forth. I want to learn, man. I want to know what these things are without going into the field. I know that's kind of what you do, Squatch and holler. But man, I'll tell you what. The last time, and I told this story on Bigfoot Society, and this will be in another part of the YT4 series that I got going on. I did the early years. I'm going to do like kind of early years part 2 when I was in middle school and moving to where my parents are now. Is I haven't been into a research type thing or going out and trying to find something in quite a while, since like early college days, because of this story. Let's see here. It must not be raised around our people then. Dang, Squatch and Holler says, I've been through a lot of portals in my 52 years of life. Dang, gonna have to try that. Yeah, no doubt. But like I said, hit that link, guys, if you guys want to come in, and share a story or talk about a topic. We're going to go as long as y'all want to go. If people are in the chat talking, hanging out, man, we're going to hang out because it's 1 year, man. It's 1 year with the pod. And like I said, I can't say it enough. Another way to support the podcast is in the description. There is a link for our merch. I've had quite a few, not quite a few. I've had actually a few hats, which is surprising. Go out to people. People have bought stickers, a couple shirts. But if you hit that link, it's the Redbubble is who I go through. Everything that you buy goes to the podcast or helps the podcast out. The Spotify ads that we did help the podcast help me buy a mic. And so I appreciate everyone that has supported and bought that continues to support and share the podcast out, because like I said, this is a lot of fun for me, and I want to have this, and I said this in the last episode, with the compilation is that I with natives we have oral history, and I'm speaking for every native, all natives. It's indigenous, that's South American, that's everybody. We've always had oral history, and we've had a tough time writing things down throughout the years, and things get convoluted, or the story's not told right. And this podcast is a way to, like, basically share your family story, or to have different things shared about you, or your experiences. Because and this is not just a native podcast, but I speak from a native perspective, and I want to make sure that our stuff is taken down. Eventually I'm going to try to make my way down, and talk to different elders and family members, because there's a lot of those stories that I still to this day kick myself over, with my Muskogee Creek family, and also my Cherokee family. I didn't really get to know my grandma, so her side, very well, just because she had a hard life, and that's one thing that I want to do with this podcast, is continue to learn and continue to get information and talk to people, and that's kind of what the name of the game is. But I appreciate everyone that has supported the podcast. But go check that merch store out, get you something, just get you a sticker, something light, put it on your coffee cup. And there are coffee mugs too, so if you drink coffee or whatever, do what you got to do. Oh yeah, yeah. Referring to the guy that sounds stupid. Yeah, that was I. I find those people to be very interesting, and it it brings up a fact that and this is kind of own, you're like, not, I guess, racist to get your own people, but you're kind of prejudiced against your own people, because I have a 4-year college degree. I'm not stupid, and for people to say, oh well, you talk too much slang, like you don't sound like you got a degree, or you don't act like you got a degree. And something that has been very prevalent here for me in the last year, and something that I get very angry about and I get very upset about, is when people try to tell me that I need to assimilate. You need to be like us. You need to cooperate. And I'm over here like, you using words like assimilate, my guy. Like, nah. I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna do the best I can in what I have to do. But I will never be you. I will never be like you. And I am me. And I will push this away until you see nothing of me, and I'm gone. And that's one thing that when I hear people say that, especially natives saying that to other natives, like, that's crazy, bro. Like, everyone got relatives who were on the Trail of Tears, or we wouldn't be here. Everybody got relatives who were told, cut your hair, or you're savage, or uh you're just, you look messy, you look unkept, you look dirty. Now, granted, my brother, when he gets a tan going, he does look a little dirty. I ain't gonna lie. He does look a little dirty. But that's why when I hear that, and I've experienced that in my last, 9, 10 months, and it's it, it's very frustrating. But let's get back to the chat, man. I'm about to be ranting over here. Let's see here. Children are more susceptible to encounter spiritual visits. Do you think we had visitors that followed us to adulthood? And that's what we see as adults. Um, I believe so. I also think that too, we see things that sometimes are there, or that aren't there, but they are there. And I mean by, for instance, let's say I'm walking down the street and I see someone walking by, nondescript, but you seem like they probably stared at you. Or there's some type of thing that like, hey, I've seen that person before. And you're out in public and there's people around you, and you're just walking, you could be walking down the street, or you could be you're walking through your neighborhood, or you could be at the mall, or you could be anywhere. But you don't recognize that person, but you know that you know them. I think that that's a spirit. I think that's something that us as adults, most people, we always try to find a logical answer to what we see. And I think, there's been many times where I crossed paths with somebody and I don't think that they were a person. Like, I really don't. Didn't say nothing to them, didn't, you know, it wasn't an interaction. I just saw them and they looked at me and I could tell. I was like, I know them. Or they, they seem like I'm familiar, but they may have not been there. And like, maybe I'm the only person that saw that thing or that person. I find that very interesting. That's very um, intriguing to me when it comes to that. Is we also look at our childhood and we look at um, growing up and going through different things and uh, the different types of encounters that we may have or may not have, and our environment shapes us and shapes our worldview and shapes how we are and how we interact with people. But I also think that there's always that bit of something that cannot be contained or controlled that is in our mind and also not in our mind, that is not that is not really there. And I think that we see things. I think everyone sees things. Like, everyone has a different perspective, but like, I find it very interesting that a spiritual visitor could be anything. It could be a cat. I talked about omens, spiritual visitor, owls. I had a lady reach out to me about that, asking me what can be done. I just said, "Do you have anybody sick?" No, well, my so and so has been kind of ill for a little bit, but they're all right. They're not. They're not. I said, did you lose? Did you get a job, or is everything going well at your workplace? I just kind of asking things like that, and sometimes it's just a visitor, but other times it could be something more. But let's see here, chats. What you guys think? Do you think that it's a spiritual visitor? Do you think it's I'm crazy and I'm seeing people like Fight Club? Let me know what you think in the chat. Drop some more topics and we'll keep it rolling. But I often wonder about about perspective and things like that, because you just never know, man. It's a crazy world we live out here. Let's see here. Oh, we're at an hour and 8 minutes, man. This thing is flying by. And kind of doing some reflection on different episodes, and the recurring guest that is Derek Morris. I appreciate him. He's from Eastern Band Cherokees, and he has shared multiple stories with me. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play one of his stories, and I'll be right back.
Siêu negad, dawage dawado, chi lage. Hello, everybody. My name is Derek, Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. These stories are coming from, if you look at the map, they're very northeastern corner of Tennessee, right near the North Carolina border. I've got a couple of Bigfoot stories for you. Sasquatch, Nanyunwe, Uniwado Wahi. It's got many names and many cultures. But this first story was told to me by my uncle. So I get into it. He tells me this happened in probably the early 80s, probably around September or October in deer season. He was out hunting. And he says to me, "Hey, I was out hunting and I kept getting a nervous feeling that I was being watched or something was following me. Kept looking around and never saw anything. Didn't really hear anything either, but he just couldn't shake the feeling that that something was watching him. So after a long morning of not seeing any deer or anything, he finally decided to head back home, and he crossed a barbed wire fence. He pushed the middle strand down and crawled through, and came up and started going up a little hill, and he just got the feeling hit him real hard again to something was watching him and to turn around. So finally he turned around and he said he saw this big hairy beast, this creature, just step over the fence, like maybe we would step over a kid's toy in the floor, just like it was not really nothing. But it stepped over and it stopped and looked at him, and he looked at the creature, and he said it was just frozen. It was petrified. It was scared to death. And so finally the creature, he just threw his leg back over the fence and it stepped all the way over the fence and just walked off into the woods. And he said, I've said a lot of things, but that time I was so scared. I'd never been that scared before. So I thought that was a pretty cool story. I'd had him tell a couple of friends that same story, and he's always told it the same way. So this uncle, he's pretty no-nonsense guy, he's straight up, and honestly, I believe him. He seemed kind of rattled when he would tell the story, kind of nervous, but he's got no reasons to make things up. So that was one story.
Yeah, Derek has some stories. I know I'm going to have him on again. I know I was going to reach out to him about coming on and doing another episode, but man, I get busy. But yeah, I appreciate Derek Morris. He had shared another story that I just thought was kind of crazy, but he was I think he was driving home, and this is on his first episode. If you want to, guys, it's Tales from the Trail, and he was driving home, and he happened to look over, and he saw a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and as he was looking at it, it just disappeared. It just disappeared, like you turn on a light. It was like that, and I get goosebumps hearing that because, like I said, it goes back to that. People talk about cloaking, and I have a hard time with that because I've heard stories of people doing certain things and disappearing, like um, it's Creek history, Muskogee Creek history, but like uh, Chito Harjo, he was running away. He had his group, it was called the Snakes. My ancestor, my relative, his name Edward Scott, was running with him, and the story had come out that they were looking for him, and that he basically just disappeared. Like I think the story was he turned into a stump. I can't exactly remember, but he did things, and kind of how it came back to us and our family and how we heard about it, and what he told his gang, the Snake Gang, was that Sasquatch taught him how to do those things. And he was younger, and he learned those things from Bigfoot, and that kind of shaped my opinion about what I think Bigfoot can do and the things that he can manifest. But let's see here. Anthony says Kevin Stitt is after Bigfoot out of his jurisdiction. That's crazy. If y'all haven't heard in Oklahoma news that I guess if you're outside your res and you have a tribal tag, you can be pulled over and given a ticket for $249. If that boy don't get out of here with that mess, if that's juvenile, man. Come on, driving like that's like that OU football player that got arrested for unpaid parking tickets, bro. Like, come on, my guy. This man had $30 or whatever it was, whatever a dang parking ticket is. $35 parking ticket says, "Sir, we're gonna need you to come with me. We're gonna have to take you to jail because you didn't pay your parking ticket. That equaled out to like $100. Come on now. That's the same thing with tribal tags, man. Like, come on. Y'all know there's like 100 different tribes in this state, and we all running around. Some of us are living right, some of us living like bandits. Some of us living crazy, living reckless. But hey, We still got that tribal tag, or you got that tribal tag, and you're just like, this just feels right. And then you get that whoop whoop, and now you going to jail. No, you getting that $249 ticket. That's crazy, man. I don't know, man. I cannot understand why things are the way they are sometimes. You know, and to even make it worse, like I'm Cherokee. I ain't Cherokee. I'm Cherokee. And the governor's Cherokee. No, he's Cherokee. Kevin says Cherokee. That's crazy. And he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and hit everybody, except the Cherokee. That's crazy. If that ain't it, like I say this all the time, guys. It be your own people, man. It's crazy out here. But like I said, guys, if you guys want to come in, like I said, that link is there. Come in, share a story. And we're getting into the 9. We're a little over 9:15. We're at an hour and 15. You know what's crazy? I was not on Indian time today. We started right on time. I was fumbling at the gills, man. I hadn't even had the mic working. Y'all had me sounding crazy on here. Didn't even tell me. Y'all said I could hear you, but I was sounding crazy. I was echoing. Y'all got me wilding out here, but like I said, we'll keep it rolling. But one of my favorite episodes that I don't think gets enough love, and I don't think it does, was that alien episode. I don't think it gets enough love because there was a crazy story told by Bill Cooper on that. That basically Marines, Special Operation Marines came down and killed a bunch of aliens, and they smelled like straight booty cheeks, smelled like doo-doo stains, smelled like that fry bread after you ate a bunch of fry bread and chili, and that chili just wasn't tasting right, but you still ate it anyways. You just blew the toilet up. Now whole house stink like booty. That's what it'd be like, man. But he said those aliens smelled like that. For a long time, I was like, man, that's kind of crazy. Like, especially if like, just imagine if you just hanging out and you hear and you're like, hey, what was that? What was that? Is that gunshots? Nah, that's nephew blowing up the dang toilet. He gone, son. Gone. He done fumigated the whole house, man, making y'all fumigated the roaches. Had all of them running. Nah. But that alien episode don't get enough love because, man, that's one thing about aliens, and I know, hey, we'll get into it because I know there's some people in here that love aliens, talking about aliens. I really don't believe in them. I have a hard time believing in aliens. I truly do, and for the reason being is I don't think. I mean, I'm not a flat Earth guy at all, but I think that there really is a dome. There has to be. So we've sent rockets up over the course of the last 2 years, and there's been video come out of it hitting the top, something like it blasting to a certain point and then ricocheting off something and making it like a doinking noise. If you go look that up, man, because I'm telling you, it'd be like that. No, that's crazy. Anthony says, butt soup? No. God. Oh, no. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Yeah. Dang, he got chat going on that one. Let's see here. Jared Davis says, have you ever heard of any indication that it being used on an individual? I've heard some, but would like to hear from all in the chat. Jared, man, I'm a little. You gonna have to explain. Sorry, man. Oh, you talking about medicine? I think I told this story in Omens, the Omen episode, or I don't know if I can't remember exactly what episode, but like I used to hear. It's a certain owl call, but it's like a bird call. and I hear it and no one else does. And I'm like, y'all hear that? And they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was in like I heard it in Lawton. I heard it when I was in Tulsa. I heard it at my parents' house. I've been so many places and I heard it, but I also wonder if it's like telling me something. That's interesting. If anyone got any of those stories, let us know in the chat because I know it's very interesting. God, smelling like burnt goulash. Nah, man. Smelling like old refried beans, boy. Golly. Stinking. Dang, smelling like some of y'all underwear. I know y'all ain't took a shower in 3 or 4 days in the chat. I know there's a few of y'all. I know what y'all do. I know exactly what y'all do. Y'all don't wash them drawers. Y'all flip them inside out and say, "Oh, it's clean now." I know what y'all do. Y'all ain't gotta play me. It's like, hey, I know Christmas is coming up. I'm gonna have Santa Claus bring y'all a new pair of drawers, man. Y'all need a 6-pack at least. Crazy. Then we off the rails. I think that's what happened. I think that's what happened. I ain't been on a live stream this long. I know, we just be going off the rails, but yeah, I'm curious to see if anybody's gotten those message stories. It's very interesting to me because when it comes to those stuff, I think a lot of things when you talk about too much, they kind of come around to you. And I know, some people got those things. But we're almost at an hour and 30 minutes, y'all. Man, 1 year of the pod. 1 year of the pod. I know that's something that and I'm gonna have to remember this story, but I know eventually we're gonna get to some missing disappearances and some people going missing. The next one is gonna be one that's pretty close to home, not really home to me, but like somewhere close. It's kind of a mystery. I know it was a worldwide case there for a little bit about a family in Eufaula. We're gonna talk about that. Different theories on that. Um, Maybe some Bigfoot activity on that or some cult activity. I think another episode that I think that I really enjoyed, and it was my story, was the cult story that I told about. We were investigating a cult out of a little bit outside of Muskogee, Oklahoma. Now that's a great question there. As vast and infinite as the universe is, do you think we're the only ones? Man, I have a hard time. I have a hard time, believing that we are literally the only ones. But I also have a hard time too that we are the only one. Like I'm on the fence. What do you guys think in the chat? Are we the only ones? Are there aliens? Or am I tripping? Just saying, am I a flat earther? Am I one of those closeted flat earthers? Like I'm not quite flat earth, but I'm just enough flat earth for y'all to kind of look at me like, oh, this guy is over here wilding. I don't know, but I think that we are. I think we are the only one in this. Okay, this is going to sound crazy. I think that there are multiple universes, and I think that each universe is in its own forward direction. And when we collide those, so like in our universe right now, we had CERN, and we've turned it on multiple times at full capacity. It's never been turned on at full capacity, I believe, this year. One thing that I find very, very interesting is why we were trying to do that. Why are we trying to merge timelines, I guess you could say. Because I find it very interesting, and that's why I have a hard time with the alien thing, because I think the aliens were already here. I don't think they came from outer space. I think they've been here and they've been hiding, and I think that I think that we don't know how they got here, but they're here. And I do, like I said, I do believe in portals, and I think that's how they're getting here. And I think that's what we're seeing, and that's what I think that it was Bill Cooper. I think is who told that story. That I think that that's what they saw as they saw the opening of a portal, and they didn't know how to explain it at the time. This is like the '80s or whatever. Let's see here. We're back. And said, like, yeah, Mandela effects. That's another thing too, man. It's like like I thought Bob Barker died like years ago. That dude and Betty White. Ain't nobody know they was alive. How we know? Like they was wilding out. Like they was living till they were almost 100 years old. I think Betty White died like days before she turned 100. Like Bob Barker died at 99. Like I thought those dudes. Like I thought they died. Long time ago. Remember at the end of Men in Black, at the end when they were put into marbles in a bag? That's interesting. We just drawing straws over here. But I think, like I said, I believe that it's not aliens. I think the aliens were already here, and I think that we don't understand what we're seeing, and like, because I think that's one thing. And this is the movie Mother. If you guys haven't seen that with Jennifer Lawrence and Benicio del Toro, that movie put into a lot of perspective for me. Because God, played by Benicio del Toro, needed Mother and Mother Earth, is what she represents. And throughout the film, there's more and more and more calamity. But it's in this microcosm of this house, which represents Earth. And he has to blow it up every time and recreate it. And I find that very interesting as a metaphor, because if there were multiple things out there, planets, everything, I think what the planets are, I think we're looking at us. Those are other us, but we don't know how to explain them because we've never been there. Like there's been no one in history in human, like right now on this planet, I don't think there's ever been anyone that's seen the surface point of those planets. I often wonder if those planets are us, just different timelines, different realities, but they're us. Interesting. Because I just have a hard time with the alien thing. I mean, there's probably gonna be some people hear this on the back end, like when this live stream's over and they catch it tomorrow morning, they'll be like, "This dude was wilding out for that alien." Because I mean, you think of it this way: there's been multiple creation stories by natives and indigenous people that have said that we come out of the earth. There are also multiple that say they come out from the sky. My thought is what if they are them? So like if you like the movie Us, where they are them, like where we, they are us and we are them. I don't know. It's just I'm throwing out some crazy theories out here, but I find the whole alien thing, because like for me, when the government started saying, "Hey, these are real and we cannot identify them," and that tells me like, okay, well, there's obviously something there. We can't explain it, but it's moving at a weird, like fast, controlled direction that we can't explain. And I think that's one thing that I find very interesting about that whole topic is Tesla found out how to move time in portals and create portals. And this is something no one ever talks about, but Donald Trump's uncle knew about Tesla's findings in his experiments. It's very interesting. We don't know what he was really working on. Every time that, and we're gonna get into some government conspiracies that right now. Like this is where we're headed, because I can't help myself. One thing that no one really talks about is how many inventions have been made and been covered up. For instance, the first automobile went like forever long because it was running on water. There was a guy who basically could turn air into water in Detroit or not Detroit, in Michigan. When Flint had all that water crisis, this guy was an engineer in the military, and I can't remember if he was a SEAL or if he was Army, but he knew things. And one thing that's very crazy is literally the next day, he basically handed out clean drinking water for free, no profit. He created this machine in this big, basically rented out this parking lot and had this big monstrous container, and gave clean drinking water to everybody in the neighborhood, everybody in the city. And the next day there was some tinkering of his equipment, and him being a military guy, he knew, because they destroyed the machine from the outside. So they cut wires that were very specific wires that were very hard to get, and they destroyed the machine, and he wasn't able to give water. Now I believe he fixed it. Now I didn't see a follow video, but this was on the news in Michigan. There was a guy who created a car that ran off water. He just happened to have a car accident, and he's not with us. There's different things, and I go back to hidden history. There's a lot of things that are very questionable with the powers that be, and I think that that's being shown to us. Like how outrageous are things like with the governor of Oklahoma? They're showing their hand. Like things have never been this way. The amount of transparency that the internet has given to everybody, and for us to just simply type in, "Hey, I want to know about Hanford, Washington." I typed in Hanford, Washington, and I typed in animal research, and I found it all. The internet's undefeated, and it's forever. And I think that the powers that be are having a hard time with that. Well, it's a little over 9:30. I'm gonna give everybody one last chance. If you want to come in and talk or have a topic you want to talk about, come on in. If not, we're gonna shut this thing down at 9:40. So if you guys want to come in, and I know I left the link should be still in the chat. If you want to come in, come on in. We'll talk a little bit. If not, we're gonna shut this thing at 9:40. But yeah, this has been awesome. This live stream has been awesome. I think we got up to like 15 at one time, which is I'm not like that's one thing that I'm trying to work on, is to be on YouTube a little bit more and not just post episodes but go live. I know that I've kind of been lacking on that part, but this has been an awesome, really awesome episode. I guess live episode. Dan, y'all came up with some pretty good topics. I appreciate it. It's been pretty wild. We went on a wild ride tonight. But like I said, if you want to come in and share a story or talk about a topic that I've mentioned or one that I haven't mentioned, the link is in the chat. Go ahead, hit it. If not, we're gonna hit it. I appreciate. I appreciate. Bust out a 1 year anniversary Bow Wow song. Yeah, that's crazy. But it's been 1 year, guys. It's crazy. I blinked. I started this November 13th, 2022. And like I said, I shout out to Spirit Talkers. Go check them out if you haven't heard about them. You do now. Subscribe. Go subscribe to Red Scares, Dono. Go buy you a shirt it's in the description of the merch store. Get you a shirt. I'm actually wearing one right now. I'm gonna post a picture of myself. I'm not really a camera guy, but sometimes you got to show off the amazing good looks. But I appreciate everyone that's giving the congratulations. It's crazy. Sometimes I feel like making a big deal out of 1 year anniversary, but I feel like a lot of podcasts nowadays don't make it to 1 year. It's for whatever reason, like you get busy or man, maybe I ain't talking about nothing. Nobody will listen to me. My numbers ain't what I want them to be. Like, it is what it is for me, and I enjoy it. And like I said, I've met some pretty awesome people doing this podcast. Like I said, I mentioned Dono from Red Scares, Matt Knapp from Bigfoot Crossroads, Byron from Bigfoot Society, Mr. Roger Williams from Squatch and Holler, um, Josh Turner from PRT. Trying to think, I'm trying to reel them off, guys. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting, but I appreciate everybody that who I've met over the course of doing this podcast. Russell, Chris, Tyler. Shout out to there's a few other people. People that I really haven't mentioned, but there's other podcasts out there like Mac Nez podcast or the East Society podcast with Kevin Nez. He's got two of them. Like I said, there's all these native podcasts that are out here that talk about different things, and we're trying to have a space in some things, and I just so happen to be the crazy conspiracy guy that that be talking about some things and jumping off ledges. No, I'm just playing. But Sherry Porter, congratulations! I appreciate you, Sherry. Thank you for joining. Like I said, I like I like seeing new faces. It's cool. But if you got a story, like I said, don't be afraid to reach out to me on Facebook. Yehola Tiger, add me as a friend. Let me know. If you want to, if you listen to the podcast, let me know. I will definitely. I like to have conversations. I have people message me. I'm in communication with a few people right now. Eventually, I'm gonna do another interview with somebody. He's an older gentleman, but me and him talk OU football. We like to talk that mess on OSU. I'm still reeling over that, guys. I just want to let y'all know I was deeply upset, and that's why I had to take a hiatus. It's like I didn't like there was 2 games back to back where I'm like, hey, all right, guys, I'm gonna get y'all to Halloween, but I knew this might have been some rough roads ahead. Dang, Jared Davis, man, come on now. Eventually, I once we get that merch store rolling and we get some people, buying some stuff. And I think I want to do. This is one thing I may end up doing is when we get to like I don't know 1,000 followers on YouTube, or if we get to like 30,000 listens or 20,000 listens of the podcast, audio podcast. I may do that giveaway because I know I got some people out there that have continued to support the podcast. But like I said, we got some work to do, and I appreciate y'all listening in. But if y'all ain't got nobody coming in, man, dang, pistols firing. Don't even do that. Dang, don't even do that. Pistols firing in my chat. Hey, Jerry, we're gonna have to block you, my guy. We're gonna have to. Hey, but you know what? It was a little bit better because I got beat 45-3. That's brutal. It was raining too, though. So, but guys, you guys can catch me on YouTube. We're on YouTube. You guys can catch me on Facebook. Yehola Tiger. Like I said, send me a message. Send me stories. We'll chop it up. I just talk, man. We have a conversation. We talk about things, and but TikTok and Instagram are Warcry Pod. I try to update those. I've kind of been lacking on TikTok. But if you got a story and you want to send me an audio clip, the email is realwarcrypod@gmail.com. Like I said, I appreciate everybody that's joined me tonight. I'm gonna read the last few questions here. Pendleton giveaways. Got man, I can't even read. Y'all crazy. Anyways, guys, I appreciate everyone that has supported the podcast over this year. And like I said, like Dono said, we got many, many more to go. But like I said, hit that merch store, like, share, subscribe, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your brother, tell your auntie. If y'all ain't living right, tell your side piece. But if you are living right, tell your spouse. But I'll catch you guys on the next one.